Okay, here we go. Nope. Let's go. How we doing? Good morning. It's a beautiful morning. Bright and early, 3:19. Getting started about on time. Ooh, I got something playing in the background. What is that? What is it? It's probably one of these Twitch things here. Oh, we'll have to remove that. Um, I want to, before we get started on our new project, let's wrap up the last one. Let's edit our panels here and update the previous project with an image. So let's go to VS Code and let's close that shit. Let's build it. I'm gonna run it and then we're gonna take a picture of it. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. Nope. Oh, there's a shortcut, but what is it? Ah. Okay. Cool. I've got it. I'll take a screenshot of the thing. Build successful. Great. I'm gonna run it. Oh my gosh. Where is that coming from? Mute. Ah, sweet relief. Okay, there's a simulator. Beautiful. Alright, we don't care about that right now. Oh, right, I need to include some activity data. So let's stop that. Let's start this. Let's go here. Let's load a file. We open that file. We start, we play. And there we go. It's starting to record information. Oh my gosh, that pace makes no sense at all, but okay. Oh, that's a good pace. That's something to be proud of. I wonder if I'm calculating that right. That doesn't seem right at all, does it? Anyways, let's start this. We're going to do it one more time. We got to wait for it. There we are. Nice. Ha! I like it. And there's our screenshot. Okay. Done. Alright, that's all I wanted to do. So now we can go back here. We can edit the panels. We can add an image. Let's go to Finder. We have to find the image. Oof, where did those go? Here we are. Let's upload that. Oh. Nice. That looks good. Do the thing. What do I do now? Enter. What? What am I supposed to do? What the hell? I mean, I guess if you want it smaller, we don't have to show all that stuff. Okay. So, what do I do now? What the hell? This should not be that hard. What am I missing? That's what I was missing. Just had to scroll down. Alright, let's see. Done. How's that look? Oh my god. I didn't save it. Okay. That's okay. That's okay. Do I want the whole thing? No. I don't really care so much about that. That looks good. Done. Submit. Oh my gosh. It's so dark. Oh, there we go. How long are you gonna take to upload there, buddy? Huh, buddy? Do I need to wait? Do I need to wait? Supports Markdown. Ah, you know what? I should make this look nicer with some Markdown. Okay. That's probably a later thing. Oh shit. I guess I should have waited. Okay, let's try this one last time. And I guess we'll just go do other things while it takes its sweet time. Yoop. Let's get it just about good. And we'll do a little higher there. Just so you have an idea that it's a watch. Okay. Done. Submit. And then let's go do other things. So that's submitting. We should play with our markdown and make this look nicer. I don't know any markdown though. All right. Let's do the thing. Let's do the thing. What's the thing? What are we doing? So we have that. Let's update complete. Commit and push. Yeah, so I would say this project is, I put it at 99% done because I'm not going to keep working on it unless there's something I want to change about it as I use it. So it's not 100% done because I'll come back to it. But I'm also not actively developing for it anymore. But we will certainly be using this code for future. Why the hell is this taking so long? I mean, maybe it's a big image. I don't know. It's hard to say. Okay, so before we get started, should probably do some tab management, but that's no fun. Except for that one. Let's get rid of that. I want to know, where were we at from yesterday? So yesterday we were trying to figure out this overarching goal. So we've kind of gone through two phases of this, where I simplified down the app all the way down to essentially just needing Garmin app to stream to a server. The server creates the overlays and then allows you to, put the overlay onto your browser, which I don't know how to do yet. That's something I need to learn how to do. I saved you from that one. I don't know how to do that. I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. So I haven't built really any servers or done much web development in my time. I've been mostly a native Android developer, and then more recently a Kotlin multi-platform developer. So building out servers is something new to me. So even with that, Garmin app and some ephemeral server that I have to build, I'm not really sure how to do it. That's a good amount of complexity because I had to learn a whole new thing. I know the Garmin app already. I'm pretty comfortable with that development environment. And the server is it's an unknown for me at the moment. So, the complexity was relatively limited. And then I started thinking about it as like, if I am streaming, let's say I'm on a trail run. This is the use case. I'm on a trail run and I want to stream the trail run. Now, assuming we have connectivity, right? I'm assuming as, we get more and more satellite related internet, we're going to be moving away from relying solely on cell phone towers and moving to more like internet cell phone sort of things. I'm assuming we're going to have more internet everywhere. So this will be more feasible wherever you're at. So you could go on a trail run and you could stream your trail run, right? That's the goal. So, but you wouldn't only want to stream it and then providing this GoPro overlay data. You'd also want to be able to chat or communicate with your the people watching you, right? And how would we do that? Well, I think the most obvious way to do that is to have some sort of TTS, right? So maybe you pay some bits to get a TTS message, and then you can respond to it. So that brought along other questions. Well, how, if you're running and you're only on a mobile phone and you're not actually controlling the stream from the mobile phone, how would you hear your TTS messages, right? So you'd have to get that information in the phone somehow, and then then it's just a simple matter of playing it. And then when you respond, you'd have to trust in the quality of some whatever activity camera you have, and then just use that as the way to communicate. Now that's one way to do it, and that's probably where I should leave it for now, and just assume that the big question is, how do I get that TTS information to the phone? I can't really imagine doing it without some sort of either web app, which I'm not familiar with, or with some sort of native application that could connect to like a message queue server or something, and do it that way. All things that we're We don't know. So there's going to be a lot of research. But I think right now, where we're going to start is with the things that I can do. I can make a Garmin app, and I can make a simple server that will be sending that Garmin data to, and then that will be creating the overlay with, right? That's something I can do. But before we get to all that, we got to figure out a name. We can't just have a nameless project. Name the thing. Name the thing. So, now this doesn't have to be the official name, the final name. Let's see, we have Trail Streamer. That sucks. Trail Streamer. Boo. We have, let's see, what are the words that work with this? Activity streamer. All right. Kind of sucks. Exercise streamer. Exercise streamer. No, I don't really like the word streamer. That sucks. No streamer. Garbage. Garmin. Let's see, that's a word related to this. Overlay. Okay, that's another word. We're sharing the stream. That's another word. So we're sharing the workout. Workout. Okay. I mean, run share. Ha. Nah. We want to be interactive, right? We want... Oh my gosh, I hate making up names. This is the name, placeholder. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, for right now, we're going to call this activity overlay. Good name. Good enough name. Good placeholder name. For now, name. And y'all are welcome to come up with a better name and help me figure that out. But for now, we are activity overlay. That is still working. I don't think it's going to work. Yeah, that one's already fucking done. Come on, dude. All I want is an image. I mean, maybe it's too big, right? Image will be scaled to 320 pixels wide. Okay, that's fine. Do it. Okay. So we have our name. Now, I kind of want to do a little bit more research before I get started. So we have a couple options, right? My ear itches. We have a couple options. We can either build the Garmin app right now, because we know what we need, right? Or we can figure out how to do the overlay server part of the thing. What do I want to do? I don't know. Let's do the Garmin app because it's something I know that I can do. Now, so the complication with the Garmin app is that we're going to have to create a new application. And the new application is going to have to mimic what the native applications show. Now, it won't ever be as, complete as the native applications. But, I should do a lot of the things that the turnaround app does, right? We can probably reuse a lot of that code. In fact, we might be able to use the turnaround app as a starting point. We won't have to choose a distance, though. We should probably have a server to connect to. All right. I want to understand better the server environment that I need to create. So that's what we're going to research right now. Let's my ear. Yeah. So the inspiration is to kind of do it like this watchpulse.live handled it, right? Where you get a short code, and this short code allows you to register or like get the stream information here, right? So I guess I can kind of show that off since I have the Garmin app. So this is the Watch Pulse Live app. It's pretty cool. So what it does is we start up the application from the watch here. So I'm going through the menu. We start up the Watch Pulse app. And then we can do something called short code. Okay, so it told me my short code. Should I show that? I mean, I don't see why not. Who cares? G, capital P, Z, Y, Q, E. We hit go. And there we go. So it's showing my heart rate. So it looks like I'm currently at 72. And then you can put this, so you can click on that, you can update the background color, right? You can update the background opacity, 100% background enabled. I don't know, this sort of stuff, when I used it before, I wasn't able to get rid of the black background, so I don't know what's going on with that. But you can change the colors and whatnot, so that's the idea, right? So what they did was they gave me a short code from the watch, and then that allowed me to, you know, get my specific data. So that shortcode, not really sure what that's doing. But I really like that setup. It's simple. Anyone can figure that out. So why not? Yeah, 71, 70. I think the talking increases it a little bit. Oh, 67. And then also we have to recognize that the heart rate, when it's just coming off of the watch like this, and it's not connected to like a heart rate monitor, that it's not the most accurate thing, right? So, but this is good inspiration. So we need to figure out how this is done. And then if I leave the app, this should stop updating. I don't know if it might show connection error at some point. Yeah, there. So it shows that sort of disconnected error. That's a great example. I love that. So you know what else that means? We're going to have to figure out a domain. That'll be fun. Okay. Yeah, we don't need StreamerBot right now. We don't need that. 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 Is this thing ever gonna finish? This thing? Let's start fresh. So, how would I do that? Well, let's think about what that is actually doing. So that shortcode is essentially an ID, right? And so you put that ID into into that little input box. Then it's going and it's finding the information. And then it's creating a UI out of it. So it's actually not that difficult. There's nothing magical about it. So you have to be able to create unique. Okay. We have to be able to store our data. So we need unique IDs. We need to be able to store our data. So let's see. Store data at least temporarily. Alright, let's make a new folder here. Folder in this project is activity overlay. Overlay. And let's start moving. So move that there. We're actually going to create a new folder. Just random. Overarching goal. Obia style. Thrashing. We're not there. We shouldn't share that. Random. So we'll just put that there. Okay. Now let's make a new note. And our new note, this is going to be the activity overlay server. So the requirements for this is we have unique users, I guess. I did not save you from that one. Unique users, right? So you need to be able to create well, okay. Yeah, there's things of trying to build it to scale and then just building it for me, right? But we'll think about it as the whole. So we need unique users, auto generate IDs, likely based off of let's see, based off of probably the watch, right? Based off of device ID, something like that. We're gonna need to be able to store heart rate. No, store data per user. And we should clean up this data. I mean, I don't know why I'd ever store any of it. We're streaming the data, so, you know, maybe we only keep a few minutes. We don't need to keep more than that. I don't see why we'd ever need to do that. So even having a database, I mean, do we need that? I don't know. Wish I was a good server. I wish I knew what I was doing with server development. All right, and then we are. What else do we need to do? We need to have unique users. We need to store the data per user. We need to allow for overlay generation. URL creation. I don't know how to overlay URL creation. We'll put that as part of it. Right. That's really it. I mean, it doesn't need to be any more complicated. Maybe, you know, customizable. You make the overlay customizable. But that's not super important right now. Okay. So what tech should I use for this sort of server? It's not going to have much by the way, you know, it's not going to have much by much UI that we need to think about. It's going to be relatively minimal, at least for now. Could get more complicated. Gosh, can I use Kotlin for this? Kotlin for server side. Now, should I do this in Kotlin or should I do this in JavaScript? That's the real question. Or TypeScript, rather. I mean, if I do it in TypeScript, I get to learn TypeScript. We're not... Alright, so JVM. Let's do pros, cons of JVM web apps, I guess. Is this a web app? Does it need to be? Yeah, I guess it does. Security. It's in its own virtual machine. Okay. Sure. Is it what it? Let's see. JavaScript versus JVM. Which should I use? Is this just like the programming language differences? Maybe not. Let's see. Ha, that's hilarious. The name choice was a marketing move to encourage adoption. Cool. Advantages. The ability to run in a browser. Right. Okay, that's not super helpful. I mean, we need to think, what is the... I don't know. What is Spring? What is Spring? Spring makes Java simple. Modern. Okay. Air code, any cloud. We got you covered. Web apps. I mean... there's no way in hell I'm gonna write this in pure Java. No way in hell. We're gonna use either Kotlin or some other language. We're not writing in Java. We're also not going to write in JavaScript. We will at least be using TypeScript. I will not be using an untyped language. Okay. From configuration to security, web apps to big data, whatever the infrastructure needs. Spring Boot. Man, I just have no idea. Wow, that's a lot of shit. I don't know. I want simple. Simple is all we need. This won't be complicated, I don't think. I mean, it probably will be. VertX. Eclipse VertX. Ooh, it says Eclipse. That makes me want to shy away. Reactive applications on the JVM. Okay. I mean, how many pages of UI are we thinking of? Let's see. pages, right? UI. So let's see, we'll have the shortcode page, right? We'll have shortcode registration. Then we'll have the overlay. Oh, but you know what? You know what? Is we're going to have multiple pieces of data coming in, right? Do you want to interact with one overlay object that has all that data in it, or would you rather have more control and have different overlays for different pieces of data? That's probably what you want, because then you could organize your stream, you know, any way you want. So that's probably the better solution. So we're gonna have like the available data for stream page, and then we would probably have a, you know, then each piece of data custom overlay customization. Customization, what the, oh my gosh, just spell it. Okay. Yeah, that seems fine. So it's not going to be that complicated. I've never heard of VertX. I've never heard of any of these things. So service, database, service, messaging. Threads. Multi-threading is simple but limited. Asynchronous programming, scalability, and resource efficient. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's a DSL that can be used to build HTML and web applications. I feel it. I'm at that base of a huge project, just thrashing, trying to figure out what I'm doing. That's okay. That's a good feeling. I should strive for that feeling. Quarkus. Okay. Well, okay, so I am familiar with Node. So I could do that. I mean, very loosely familiar. I've used it before, right? Node pros and cons. What I really want is how to choose a website framework. Is framework what I mean to say? Sure. Let's see. What bullshit do y'all have? What are you pushing? Django. Like Ruby. I'd like to learn Ruby. Ruby might be cool. Yeah, slow beginning. This is the thrashing phase. Thrashing right here. You're thrashing. You have no idea what you're doing. And then you start getting it. And then you just keep getting it for, I think this is much longer than they're saying, but PHP framework performance comparison. Okay. A library is a collection of pre-built modules or functions that can be used to simplify and speed up development. Yeah, we'll have to consider what our hosting requirements will be. Oosh. Wow, that was super helpful. Those are the things you should consider. Great, great. Yeah, I know. Angular. To this end, the framework supports the TypeScript language, okay, progressive web app architecture, and the MVC model. Now, I don't think I need an Angular application. Like that's too complicated. We're not building out some, you know, very dynamic website. We're building out relatively well, is it? No, is it static? Static enough. You know, you just use your short code, you get in, you see the information being shared, then you know. Angular's age can present a problem. In 2010, developers weren't building mobile web apps, so for several years, additions were shoehorned in Angular to accommodate them. In 2016, Angular was rewritten with TypeScript and released as Angular 4. Fortunately, previous versions of Angular aren't compatible with the new TypeScript version of Angular 4. That's important to know if any part of your used Angular, you're thinking of going this direction. Yeah, again, I just don't think I need to use something like that. And kind of same goes for React. I don't think I need a reactive web app. It's not a super dynamic thing. It's pretty static. What is Vue? I wish I knew some web developers. This would make this a whole lot simpler. Talk to them. Okay, much like Angular, getting up to speed with Vue is not difficult. You can leverage your skills with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Don't have any. You can also build templates and components in Vue. Okay. Many developers rank Vue as a third. So yeah, I could use Kotlin, right? I could use Kotlin, and I could use Kotlin Compose. Let's see, Kotlin KMP Compose. What do they call that again? This one. I've used Compose for Android development, right? So I could see, but then the web support experimental. Experimental. Can't do experimental. Okay, so I don't want to. I don't want to do this, right? I don't want to add an additional layer of complexity by using an experimental framework for this. So, I think, oh, let's look at the online demo. Wow, look at that. That is something else. Okay, yeah. I don't want to do that. Ember. Svelte is an anti-framework framework. Wow. There are issues with some frameworks, such as large code base required to run scripts. Svelte, released in 2016, is driving the campaign to reduce the challenges of some traditional frameworks. For instance, a simple to-do MVP application written with Svelte will weigh in at 3.6 kilobytes, whereas the same app written in React tops 45 kilobytes. What needs to be done? That. And then this. And then that. And then that. That's pretty cool. Good, 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 good. Okay. Okay, this sounds interesting. Svelte. Cybernetically enhanced web apps. What the fuck does that mean? Cybernetically enhanced. Okay. I love that. That's hilarious. No more manual, just faster, more efficient apps. I like that. Write breathtakingly concise components using languages you already know. Okay. Built-in scope styling, state management, motion primitives. Ocean primitives? Build with ease. I mean, I don't. What? So you put everything in a script? Oh boy. This doesn't. So this is where the JavaScript goes, is in the script. So this is more like UI frameworks, right? Do I need anything else? Again, probably not really. We're not doing a lot of complicated handling of stuff. We're just okay. I mean, so I know Node. What are some Node alternatives? Open source cross. Yeah, this is actually helpful. Sorry if this isn't helpful for anyone else, but this is the process for starting a new project, especially in an area that you're not familiar with. It is reading documentation, understanding the space so that you can then, zero in on what you want to use. And you'll probably make mistakes, but that's okay. V8 JavaScript engine, so a variety of operating systems like Windows. Yeah. Desktop, mobile applications, Internet of Things projects, video streaming platforms, complex single-page applications, cross-platform apps. Web frameworks most commonly used by developers worldwide. Node.js. Okay. React, jQuery, Express, Angular, Vue, ASP, ASP.NET. The hell is that? Django, Flask, Next.js, Laravel, Angular, Fast API, Ruby on Rails. I have heard a lot about Ruby on Rails. Has many positive characters, but it's praised for being simple, scalable, and with great performance, maintainability, and speed. But every technology has its downside. Now we will look at Node's weakness in detail. Unquestionably, the inability to handle CPU-intensive operations. Do I have any CPU-intensive operations? No. Node.js uses its entire CPU firepower to process requests when it gets large CPU-intensive tasks. In the event loop before responding to requests in the queue. As a result, the event loop as a whole becomes slower, which has an overall negative impact on the application's interface. Okay. The Node package manager for Node.js has numerous packages and modules. However, unlike some other programming languages, NPM doesn't have a library system. For instance, many registries either remain incomplete or need more documentation and code. One major drawback is that Node is that there is no monitoring system to identify and delete such files from the library. Unsynchronized programming model. The requirement is that an application uses an asynchronous programming model to increase its capacity for scaling. However, developers believe this technique is more challenging than linear block I/O programming. The asynchronous programming style has the drawback of making code cumbersome and forcing programmers to rely on nested calls. Right, this is the callback hell. But I was told that callback hell is no longer a thing with... There's some keyword that essentially lets you block write synchronous code. What are Node.js alternatives better than it? No technology can be a universal 100%, as well as the Node.js itself. That is why in this section we will discuss those Node.js competitors that are better suited for those projects for which Node.js is not appropriate. Okay. Python. Huh. All-purpose. Yeah, I know Python. Errors are inevitable when programming with right code. When it comes to programming tool, error detection, usability, and efficiency are crucial. Python has an advantage in this area because fixing faults and defects takes less time with this technology. How? How? Okay, I don't know about that. Many hosting companies allow you to integrate APIs and other plugins and have built-in Python code support. AWS, A2 Hosting, TMD Hosting, DigitalOcean, Heroku, and more well-known platforms are available. Python developers will find it easier to develop software because of the range of options available. Okay. High flexibility. Even though Node.js can be called a very flexible technology, a competitor of Node.js, Python wins a bit because it's high flexibility and compatibility. It's compatible with multiple platforms and programming languages. When integrating different tools, languages, and platforms during product development, developers find it simple to accomplish this. Python can easily integrate with many different technologies, including .NET, C, Sharp, C, and many others. Huh. Okay. That's interesting. How do you build out UIs with Python? I mean, I imagine it's got to be relatively simple. Python's it's slower. It is slower than Node.js, but it's a favorite for both inexperienced seasoned programmers due to its strong problem-solving capabilities, vast documentation, and large following. Best Python use cases: big data, automated testing, online game development, AI ML applications, web-based applications, scientific and numeric platforms, educational. Java, interesting. Eclipse, NetBeans, and IntelliJ are three top-notch tools for Java developers that work well with servers, debuggers, decompilers. So essentially, IntelliJ. Therefore, Java tools are far more powerful than Node.js if you need an IDE to allow you to modify while programmers are working on the running source code for your project. Okay, so essentially it has IDEs that you like. All right. As compared to Node.js, Java can handle threads supported at the OS level, so it turns out that a program written in Java makes the best use of OS features, and if you need to write a high-loaded application, that will use a lot of Java. I don't think I will. I don't need that, but that's good to know. This is actually a pretty helpful article. Who knows how accurate it is? But it's good to know. So strong security, standard error handling is absent in Node.js, frequently viewed as a security flaw. Java, however, is incredibly secure. Its weaknesses often result from integration rather than the language's design. The majority of type-related errors may be easily avoided by using TypeScript. Yep, we will be using that. While bytecode checking in Java checks all code immediately before it executes. Okay. Android apps, web-based apps, server programs. I mean, yeah, I could do that. I could do that. ASP.NET is an open source server-side web app framework. It has predefined class libraries that make it possible to structure both simple and complicated data, provide safe encrypted data, and control database access. However, it is frequently less effective than ASP.NET. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to do ASP.NET. ASP.NET for startups. Huh. Interesting. Okay, that was interesting. Did this thing ever finish? No. This is never going to finish. What's wrong with my image that you won't upload? Oh, that's so annoying. That is so annoying. Oh my gosh. Okay. No. We're here. No. We're here. Web app development. Ruby. See, this one says Ruby on Rails. Relative speed when compared to other frameworks in this regard is popularity is also attributed to its high efficiency. Okay. So it looks like we could do Ruby on Rails. I'm going to disregard ASP.NET. We could do Node. Right. We could do, which I have some familiarity with. Here are our options. Ruby on Rails. Node. Could just sit with a Java app. I don't know that I want to do Ember.js has been gathered. I mean, I guess we can look up Ember.js. Django. Oh, uses Python. That's the connection. Django, which uses Python. Okay. So we have Ruby on Rails as a programming language. We have JavaScript, Kotlin. I won't be using, here, we'll call this a Kotlin app since I will not be using. And we have Django, which is Python, I guess. Top 10 frameworks for web applications. Hey, cool. Ruby on Rails, extremely productive web application written by David. Uses the model view controller pattern, which I'm very familiar with. I mean, we do MVVM, but it's the same idea. Ruby on Rails. Now, will I enjoy writing code for it? That's the big question.
Welcome to Ruby on Rails. We're going to build a demo blog to demonstrate how to get started with the framework, build something real, and then deploy to production. Let's go.
1.75.
We're going to start with the creation of the Rails skeleton. This includes all the default directories and some stock files for you to fill in with all your content, and it also sets up all the dependencies that the Rails framework uses by default. Now that we have the skeleton, we can start by generating the first model for our blog, a post model that's going to have a string as a title and a text field as content. We're using this generator to create the files needed for the controller, for the post model, for the views, for everything. Let's have a look at what's been created. The first thing we can have a look at is the migration. The migration is what sets up the database table. And as you can see here, we designated that we want a string title and a text content. And then by default, Rails also adds a set of timestamps for created app and updated app. This is then connected to the post model that will instantiate and encapsulate these database rows which again is invoked by the post controller. It has all the actions needed to encapsulate a REST-style approach to developing web applications. You have the 7 default actions, and a handful of these actions then have templates like index, show, new, and edit. I can show you one of those. And that is basically all we need to get started with the most basic outline of a web application. So we will run the migration as the first thing to set up the database and set up the post table. And then we can have a look at that schema that's been generated for us. As you can see now, it just has the post table in there. Let's have a look at how that looks in the browser. So we start the Rails server, and then we jump over to the browser. And as you can see here, it just gives us a nice boot screen that shows the version of Rails that we're using and the version of Ruby. But our new app that we created with the scaffold lives under /posts. It is the basic CRUD app, hello world. We create a new post, first post. And when we post that, it'll go to the create action, which will redirect to the show action, and then we can go back to the index action. I've done this demo a bunch of times before, and it's always looked like this. Not very nice. So for this demo, I'm going to pop in the simple CSS framework straight off the CDN so that we can have something slightly nicer to look at. And I'll do that by going to the default layout that all the views are rendered within, and I'm just going to pop in the simple CSS styles. And then let's have a look if that doesn't look a little better. It sure does. Okay, so now we have the CRUD actions, not just for HTML, but actually also for a JSON API. If I do .json behind the post here, you'll see the entire collection currently consisting just of one element, returned as JSON that you could hook up to a single page application, exposed as a public API, whatever you want. If we jump back and take a quick look here at the controller, you can see that this is all mapped up. And for these actions that create an update, we have different paths, whether you are submitting from HTML or whether you're submitting from JSON. Okay, let's actually start developing our domain model. So the first thing we could do is we could add validations to the post. We could say validates presence of title. And now if we go to attempt to make a new post that has no title, we will get an error that simply says this can't be saved because the title can't be blank. That error is generated by the form HTML that we have, the template here. We have under app views posts form. You can see if there are any errors, it'll show all these errors first. And you can trace that all the way through from the create. As we go through the create action, we try first to save if that is successful, then find a post that's created and we redirect. If it's not successful, we will render the new action again as an unprocessable entity with those error messages in there. That is a user error, if you will. We can also make a programmer error here and see what that looks like if we reference the wrong variable and then try to load it. We can see we get this error screen in development that shows the exception being raised and the backtrace where it's coming from. And then we actually also have a console built right into the error screen that lets you manipulate and look at all the variables that have been assigned in there. Now, that console is also accessible from the command line. We can jump in and start a brand new console here and interact with the main model that we've been building up. If we go to post first, it'll fetch the first post that we created. This was the one we created through the web interface, but we can create another one through this console as well if we do title from the console. Content, nice. We'll see, you start a transaction, insert into the post table, and there we have it, another post object. We can also query these objects. For example, just post all will get us everything. If we want to find just some of it, we can, for example, query on created at. We could do time, now, all day. That'll create a range for the entire day. See, we find still the same two posts. You can see what that SQL statement actually looks like in total. We can try one where we don't find anything. Time now, yesterday. Didn't have anything posted then. That's the SQL for it, and this is the MT array that's returning back. Okay, great. But having a blog that simply just accepts content as plain text is a little boring, so here's another set of Rails features. This is action text we're going to add to get what you see is what you get. Editing for our new blog. We'll start here by adding the action text elements. Rails action text install. We'll add a little bit of JavaScript that we need. It'll add some CSS for the new editor, and it'll add a set of migrations for us to upload and store files using active storage. In this example, we're just storing locally. When you deploy to production, you can store on S3 or other cloud storage setups. It also adds an image processing gem so that we can make variants of the files that we upload, so that we can get smaller versions of the images or otherwise. So we'll bundle to get that image processing gem on there, and then we'll run Rails DB migrate to pick up the couple of migrations we have. Now we have to set up the model to say that we're going to use this rich text setup. We do has rich text content, and then if we jump to the form for that, instead of having a text area, we can add it as a rich text area. Now we just have to restart the server because we added a new gem, and then we can jump over and see what our new post look like. Oh, we left the error in there. Gotta pick that out again. Let's do that, and then we load. Great. Now you see that the content is not just the plain text field. This is rich. We can use rich text. We can do various forms of markups we have in here, and we can even do file uploads. So file uploads can simply be dragged and dropped into our editor here. It'll upload it in the background via active storage to either local, as we're doing here in development, or with direct upload to cloud storage. But we're just going to do it here. Rails logo. And then we create the post. Great. So now we have a post. It has an image attached, and if we go back to all the posts, we can see both of the posts that we've put in there. Let me show you how the JavaScript for that is set up. Rails, by default, uses something called import maps, which allows us to use advanced JavaScript without having Node installed on our system. We're simply using the JavaScript as text and serving it through the browser and using ESM to deliver that. This is set up in terms of what we can use in our map or in our app as this import map. The default is this stuff up here. Rails ships with Hotwire by default turned on. That means the Turbo framework and the Stimulus framework is already set up and ready to use. And then when we ran the action text install generator, it also added the tricks and action text pins. And as you can see here, the application.js then imports tricks and action text, and that is what makes those available to our applications so that we can use this. But what if we wanted to add some other JavaScript from NPM? Let's have a look at that. We will add a piece of JavaScript for localizing the timestamps that these posts were created on our blog, both localizing and using time ago setups. So we will use the...
So Ruby on Rails uses JavaScript, or like can plug into JavaScript? That sounds useful.
bin stub import map, and we will pin local time. We'll fetch that off NPM, figure out which URL it should use based off the default CDN that we're using for this JavaScript, that is JSPM. I'll show you later how you can also download that, but we're just going to depend on the CDN at this time. So now we've added local time to our import map. See right here. Now we can also import it and start using it as part of our application.js. We'll import local time from local time, and then we'll start that local time. Now we can use this. Have a look at the post here. We will pop in a new bit where we can have a post it, and then have a time tag. And this time tag will generate an HTML time tag, which the local time JavaScript will identify. Look at the data local attribute. It says time ago, so it'll convert that UTC time into time ago. And that's all done in the browser, which means it's cache safe, which is a lovely way to present time. So let's have a look at that. Jump into the browser. Posted 10 minutes ago, posted 6 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. So this is all using NPM directly. It does not require Node of any kind. Does not require NPM installed on your local machine. This is all running off a API using JSPM, the CDN. But you can also just add these pins to your application yourself, wherever you want them. They could be off your own CDN setup, or it can be off any of the other CDNs that are out there, like JSDeliver. But we can also download this local time instead of having it as a CDN dependency. Let's do that. We'll download it instead, and as you can see here, it's going to download it to vendor JavaScript local time.js. And when we jump back into, see there, we can see that that pin is automatically mapped there. We just get a little comment of which version that we're using, and if we jump over to the browser, it works just the same. Great. So now our little blog has posts with localized times. It has a way to use a tricks editor to use what you see is what you get, but we would also like to add some comments to this, because that will allow us to show the relationship within a domain model between multiple models at once. So we'll go back to the terminal here and use our generator again. Instead of Rails generate, we can also just do Rails G, and instead of a scaffold, we'll do a resource, which adds just a thinner wrapper around the model that we're adding here. We're going to add a comment, and that comment is simply going to have a post references, which creates a foreign key setup and a dependency in the model that this belongs to the post, and it's also going to have a content that's also just going to be text. As you can see, it creates another migration, and we can have a look at that. Quite similar. You see it sets up the reference. It will create a foreign key for that reference. It becomes the post _ ID, and then it has a text column for the content for us to use. So let's run that migration and have a look at the main model that we just created. Rails console, we'll find the first post, and that post has comments. Oh, it doesn't have comments yet because we have not yet connected. As you can see here, the comment model belongs to the post, but we also need to tell the post that the post has many comments. Now if we pop back into the console here, we can actually just reload inline, and voila, updates to the main model live. There are no comments right now, so let's create the first one. That's going to have content of first comment. There we go. Now we have a post in the system that has comments, but we don't have any way of seeing that in our web UI. So let's add that to the web UI. Jumping back in here and then going to post. We're just going to have it on the show template. On the show template here, we're going to render all the comments. We'll actually do a partial for it. That'll be post / comments. We'll pass in instant variable of posts, so we just use local variables. And let's do comments here, and I've pre-baked some HTML that we can just pop in. There we go. So this will render all the comments that belong to this post. This is shorthand for what you see up here. We're going to render the partial of comment / comment with a collection of posts, so it iterates over those, and then we will also render a new form. So let's create those partials. First, we create the comment one, and I'm also just going to pop that in. It's just going to be a basic div that has an ID, which we will later use for live updating of stuff. It has the content, and we're using that time tag again with time ago to see when the comments were posted. And we're also going to create a partial for the new form, so that we can create new comments on our post. As you can see here, we use a helper called form width. It uses the model, and we pass into it. Actually, we're going to pass in local variable here and the comment, and there we go. And then actually, let's also pop in a little notice on the comment itself, or on the post itself, just a counter to show how many comments were posted on it. We use one of those helpers, Pluralize, that will go one comment, 2 comments, and you'll see that in the UI in just a second here. Although we also actually need to add the comments controller. It starts out as just this empty shell here. In order to be able to create any comments, we need a create action. We're going to set that up. It's a prepeg here. Before any of the actions are loaded, we run a callback called setPost that will plug out the post ID from the URL so that we know which post that these comments is supposed to be created for. It will then take the parameters from the form and their scope by comment. It'll require that, which means that if the comment scope is not present, it'll raise an exception telling us that, and then it'll only permit a allow list of attributes, in this case just content, such that you can't sneak anything else in, you can't set a different foreign key or ID and corrupt the system. This is just one of those security benefits that you have in Rails out of the box. Great. Let's have a look and see what that looks like. We are now in post. We'll go to this post. And see, we are missing the route that post comment is supposed to look up, and that's because I forgot to edit the routes file. So the resources generator adds this comments resources, but it's of course at the root, and what we want it is to have it nested such that the comments belong to the post. Great. See, there are 0 comments so far, but we have our form down here. Let's do 1 comment. We'll create that comment, and there we go. We have our comment added. Now a quick look at the console for the log for this. You see here we started a post against a post /3/comments. This is the nested route that we have. Here are the parameters. It's using an authenticity token to make sure that we don't have any CSRF exploits. And as you can see here, it's even filtered so it doesn't show up in the log. We also filter other things like passwords and stuff that you shouldn't be putting into your logs. And then you can see the parameters. This was the required scope comment, and it just has one attribute that is going to be the content and what that content actually is. Then here you can see setPost is calling that ID, the 3, from up here. It looks it up, says we have the post, it proceeds, then inserts the comments, and when it's done, it redirects to post number 3, and that renders everything again. So now we have a blog that has posts, and those posts can have comments, but let's add another feature of Rails. Let's add a mailer such that when a new comment is posted, the owner of the blog gets an email letting the person know that a new comment has been posted. So we use another generator for a mailer here, and that mailer is going to be called the comments mailer, and it's just going to have one action on it called submitted. You see this generator, of course, does not generate any migrations, just a bunch of files for us to play with. So first thing we're going to edit is the comments mailer. And you can see it's just a stub here. We're going to be passing in the comment that we want to let the owner know about. We're going to assign that to an instant variable such that it's available in the view. We're going to mail that to, say, the blog owner at example.com, and we're going to set a subject for this email to be new comment. Then we can edit the templates that go with this comment mailer that forms the content of the email that's going to be sent out. So that's going to be submitted, HTML. I have one that's pre-baked we can just pop in. And the neat thing here you can see is we're reusing the same partial templates, the comment/comment template, the HTML template, for the HTML part of the email as well. This is how a lot of things in Rails work, that you can use the same templates across things like emails, the first render, live updates. You're never recreating templates more than once. And then of course we also have the plain text version of the email where we're not going to use that partial, we're just going to pop it in as plain text. Rails has this neat feature where we can actually see what these emails are going to look like. We are going to use one of these previews, and it's going to just preview whatever the first comment is, and we can jump to this URL in the browser to see what that looks like. You got a new comment on Hello World. First comment, that's the HTML version. Here's the plain text version. And now we know that the mailer itself works. So let's hook the mailer up to flow so that when a new comment is created, we will also send out the email. So we have the comments mailer. It has a submitted action. We're going to pass in the comment.
I could see how you could move pretty fast with this.
And then we're going to deliver later. Deliver later will use a asynchronous job queue such that neither the rendering of the HTML for this mailer nor the delivery of the email itself happens in line. It happens asynchronously, much faster response time in the UI. And that's pretty neat. So let's see if that actually works. We'll jump over to browser again, jump back to our post, and then send a comment via email. Create that comment, and we can see whether it's been sent by checking the log. Scrolling back here, and you can see the email is being sent. It's being sent to blog owner. It has that subject of new comment. It's rendering a MIME part for the HTML and a MIME part for the clear text. And if you look up here, you can see the deliver later is set up as an action mailer delivery job, which is this out-of-band asynchronous setup. In production, we would use a full queuing system, rescue or something else like that. In development, it is just happening in line. Great. Now we have a blog that can also send email. Let's make this blog live. And we're going to use the default Hotwire stack, or at least one part of it, the turbo part of it, to make adding comments a live event. And it is surprisingly simple. As you saw before when we looked at the application.js, Hotwire is already configured in a new Rails app, so we can simply start using it. So we're going to start using it by setting up a subscription to a turbo stream on the post show action. We're going to use this turbo stream from, and then the name of the stream we're going to use is going to be derived from the post, since it has an exclusive stream for the comments that are posted to that. And then when a comment is created, we are going to let it broadcast to the post. That will broadcast both creates, updates, and destroys, which we can now demonstrate. So let's jump over to our browser, and then let's actually make another browser such that we can have them side by side and see that this stuff is happening live. Okay, let's scroll down here. Is this a live comment? It sure is. It showed up over here as well because via WebSockets, we're delivering all these updates that are made to the comments. They're being broadcast, whether they're being invoked from a web UI as here, or if they're being invoked from the console as well, since it just goes through the Rails domain model. So we could do here, find the post 3, and then look at the comments. We have those comments. We could take a look at the last one, and what would happen if we destroyed the last one? Boom, it's gone. And it's gone because when we destroyed the last one, a callback is being triggered by that setup of broadcast 2 that will broadcast this turbo stream element, remove, and the target is comment underscore ID, which matches the DOM ID we had set up for the partial for the individual comment. We can also update here from console. So if we do an update of the content updated from console, you can see that that update is sent out as well. And that update, contrary to the delete update, is actually done asynchronously because we're rendering a template, so that also happens out of band. And there you have it. Creates, updates, and deletes are all broadcast automatically. And of course, you can tweak this and set it up to your heart consent, but simply adding the broadcast 2 will do it for all the 3 actions by default when you follow the conventions. Okay, we've created quite a lot of code. Let's have a look and see if we also have some tests. And of course we do, because all these generators we've been running have been creating stuff, testing that actually exercises the app. And if we run those with Rails test, we'll see a couple of them failing. We have one failing because of a invalid foreign key, and that happens when we go to destroy the post. Then you have comments that depend on that post now having an invalid foreign key. So we can fix that first by jumping back into the post model, and instead of just saying has many comments, we'll also say that they are
This is
dependent.
looking pretty good. I think
Destroyed when we destroy a post.
so
let's
far
run
I'm
the test
thinking
again.
this might be the path to
Test no
go.
longer failing. We still have a failing test for the comments mailer, because that is of course just generated off the defaults that weren't tweaked. We'll use a fixture here. If you have a look at comment YAML, you'll see we set up fixtures for all models that are generated through generators, such that you can set up a set of fixtures that you can refer to in your tests and run very fast. And then I also remember we changed the subject to new comment, and then we sent this to the blog.
Now, yeah, he
owner.
is showing,
So for example,
you know, a blog example, which
go back
doesn't
and run that.
necessarily apply, but
boom,
I can see
all
how
our tests are
quickly we
passing on our new
can
wonderful
build
blog
things out.
that does what you see is what you get editing. It does comments. It does live comments. And now our application as such is done. But what if we wanted to show other people this application? Let's deploy this to production. And I'm going to use Heroku to do this because Heroku is nice and simple and easy to use. But where the Rails skeleton by default is started with SQLite as the database, Heroku uses Postgres, but thankfully there is a command here, Rails DB system changed, where we can change the configuration of our database to use Postgres instead. That'll add Postgres adapter, so we'll have to bundle for that. And then we can add everything to Git, because that is how we will push to Heroku. So we'll add everything to Git, we will commit everything that we've added as first here, and then we will create the Heroku setup that we're going to deploy our app to. And once we've done that, we can push our app straight to Heroku, Heroku main. We're going to get a little error here in just a second that we can correct, because there is a check here, and you can see this is failing because I'm making this demo on an M1 machine, and Heroku is not running on an ARM64, so we just have to add x64 here as our platform for the bundle lock. We'll do that, and then we'll add the gem file lock again, commit that, add it to the platform, and then we can push again. And now we have deployed our app to Heroku. We've been assigned the mighty Tundra as our URL for this, and we can go have a look at that in just a second. We need to do a couple more things. We need to, first of all, migrate our database, which will also set it up. We'll use Heroku run rake db migrate. And then we need to add Redis as an add-on to our Heroku setup, because Redis is used by the Turbo setup to send those live updates back and forth. Great, now everything should be setting up. So let's have a look at our live app deployed in production. We can use this one here.
What the shit?
And you see the page we're looking for doesn't exist. And that's because we haven't actually set up a root route in our application. So let's do that. If we go back to the routes here, you'll see there's actually a comment just for that purpose. So we'll set it up so when you go to the root, it'll go straight to the post index, and we will commit that setup. Add it and commit it, adding the root route, and then we can push that again to Heroku. Now that's set up, so let's have a look and see if the app works in production. There we go. We have an empty one, of course, because it's a brand new database. This is the first post. Now, the only thing that does not work yet here in production is dragging and dropping files, because Heroku would require us to set up S3, and you can use that as an exercise for the reader for you to set that up, but it is quite easy to do, just a matter of a little bit of configuration, and then you'll also have the direct upload with drag and drop here. But let's create this post, and then let's create the first comment, and check that everything is working here in production. And there you go. There's now one comment posted, so let's do the test and see if we're set up and works correctly with the turbo back to get the comments from one side to the other. This is the second comment. And it sure does. So now we have the entire application running in production, backed by a live setup that uses Redis and all the other goodies. And that's all you need to get going, get started, building something real with Ruby on Rails, taking it all the way from hello world to, who knows, perhaps, maybe one day IPO. Thank you.
Yeah, that's cool. That seems pretty fast. That seems pretty nice. Rails full stack ships with all the tools you need to build amazing web apps. That's what I want. Rendering, because at the end of the day, I just want a simple application that allows me to do this sort of stuff. Okay. active records make modeling easy. Optimize for happiness. Sure, let's read the Rails doctrine. Optimize for programmer happiness. Oh, this is a lot to read. Okay, this is interesting, but I don't need to read this right now. All right, so we have that. Let's look at Django. Why would I want to do Django? It's Python. Yeah. It's ridiculously fast. Oh man, my computer's starting to slow down here. Too many tabs, perhaps? I don't have that many tabs open. I need a nice video. Let's build powerful. Yeah, we're not doing that. So Angular's out. I guess I'll look at ASP.NET. Sounds like ass. Framework for building web apps and services with .NET and C#. I don't want to do either of those things. So we're not going to do that. Nope. Okay. Meteor. Laravel. I used to use Express. But I feel like the complexity, I really feel like we should just probably use Ruby on Rails. I think I'd be pretty happy with that. And if the thing is like, you know, I do a Ruby on Rails project. I'm not stuck doing Ruby on Rails projects. It's just I've learned some Ruby on Rails. Because I mean, I have exposure to Python. I have exposure to JavaScript, right? I have no exposure to Ruby on Rails. So I think that's a good. I think that's good. I'm not going to be doing PHP. Play is one of the modern web application frameworks written in Java and Scala. Ooh. It follows the MVC architecture and aims to optimize developer productivity by using convention over configuration, hot code reloading, and display of errors in the browser. High velocity web framework. Oh, that green color though. Holy shit. Man, we're struggling right now. Why is that? But I'm not writing stuff in Java, so that's a no. Let's read the guides. Rail guides are also available for Kindle. That's funny. So I have to learn Ruby. Three dot times do print welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. So let's do 1,000 times. It did it. Success. Okay. Two plus 6. What does it do? Nice. 8. Ruby recognizes number and mathematics symbols. You could try some other math like, okay, 4 times 10. Wow. 5 minus 12. Wow, wait. Alright. Puts. Puts 4 times 10. Run. Okay. Well put. Puts 5 minus 12. Run. Okay. If I make these floats, will give me a float value? Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, we can do Ruby on Rails. I don't know. I have to learn Ruby. That's the only negative, right? Is I have to learn Ruby. But can't be that bad, right? I mean, I pretty much I had to learn everything. Node.js is JavaScript. I have some, some. I know some of it. I don't know all of it, right? Django is Python. Why use Django? Excellent documentation, high scalability. Yeah, I don't really care about that. Oh my gosh, this thing is just dying on me. What is going on, computer? Is something taking up all my resources? What is this? Too many things. Too many things. You know what? Quit. Quit. Okay. Huh, that's interesting. Huh. Cool. All right, I'm gonna be right back. Here we are. This. So, we are still figuring out what we should be using. Now, the Ruby on Rails demo that they had was very impressive. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Does it make sense for this little project? I think it does. I think it does. Because it's forced me to learn something new, right? And it should satisfy all the requirements I have. If I go to a website called Django Stars for an article about Django versus Ruby on Rails, who do you think is going to win that comparison? I'm going to say right now, I guess I'm going to guess Django. Let's find out. Oh, let's get to the conclusion. Oh, look at that. Django. Amazing. It's so blatant. All right. Okay. Let's watch this. This was made
We're using way too many platforms for work.
We should just use Monday.com.
months ago.
We're not using that many.
HRCR.
When we choose a programming language or a framework, normally we consider development capabilities, documentation, and strength of the community. Today we'll focus on performance difference between two famous frameworks. Django with 73,500 stars against the admired Ruby on Rails with 53,600 stars on GitHub using the latest stable Ruby version. I have set up two similar applications with basic database fetching and template rendering on two separate servers with identical specifications. Our test plan involves simulating load of 100 concurrent users that will sum up in a RAM-up period of 12 seconds, and the whole test will last for 15 seconds. We are benchmarking response time and error rate, and I have set up a Gmeter client on each server to collect CPU and memory usage. And we are ready, so let's go. Very interesting, both applications start with similar response time at the 55 milliseconds. Now Django is the red and Rails is the purple. This graph really looks good for both Django and Ruby on Rails. They didn't cross the 1200 milliseconds. Now Ruby on Rails start with better performance and reach something like 300 millisecond performance difference. But at the end, as we add more concurrent users, Python performed better. Django is better performing than Rails here. Now let's navigate to the CPU collector metric. CPU users shows us slightly better performance for Ruby on Rails. It reaches 100% CPU usage at the 6th second. whereby Django has reached 100% at the 4th second. Now let's navigate to the memory collector. Now Ruby is the blue and Django is the red. And Django is handling the memory better. It's using like 74% of the memory, whereby Ruby on Rails with 80% of the memory. Now let's navigate to the summary report. And as we see here, we were able to collect 853 response from the Django application, whereby we collected 815 from the Ruby on Rails application. Now Python have an 11% error rate. This means from the 853 responses, 11% was not successful, whereby the Ruby on Rails application did not return any error. Ladies and gentlemen, overall Ruby on Rails has performed slightly better. Both applications has performed very well. We were able to respond under 1200 milliseconds. We are in one virtual CPU server with 1 GB of RAM, and for 100 concurrent users, this is really good results. And this also confirmed that the Python 3.12 has performance improvement. Now, ladies and gentlemen, again, while today we focused on performance, there are so many other criteria to consider. I hope you enjoy watching and see you next time.
All right, so similar to my previous response, how fair do we think a Ruby on Rails versus Django video is going to be for a site called the Rails Wrangler?
In the vast ocean of web development, frameworks are your lifeboats. They provide structure, reusable codes, and a common method to solve common problems. They make our lives easier by cutting down on repetitive tasks and allowing us to focus on what truly matters, creating...
I'm enjoying the David Attenborough theme to this. All right, I don't need to watch that. Okay. I don't think I want to do this. I think I want to do Ruby on Rails. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But we're not going to do that today. I think for now we have learned enough. And yeah, I'm going to end it here. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your